Well then, hello and welcome everyone to our third episode of Meet a Streamer, where we get together with personalities from the Borderlands community and asking them a few questions, have a little bit of banter. And this is like the last episode before Christmas, and I went for shopping today and I saw there's a little vendor for Christmas trees, and I thought, hey, maybe I'll get one. Maybe I'll get a Christmas tree because then I'll have one and Flag doesn't. Flag never gets a real tree. Anyways, today our guests include the wonderful Tessachka. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tess. I stream on the Borderlands channel. I stream on my channel a lot of Borderlands and some other games. And I basically started streaming 6.5 years ago, almost 7 years ago with Borderlands. So the first game I ever streamed wasn't Borderlands, but it was like 3 days later, a viewer recommended Borderlands. I was like, sure, I'll try a viewer recommendation. Why not? And literally the rest is history. I was super hooked immediately. So I love this franchise a lot. I'm very, very lucky that I get to work with Gearbox and 2K on the Border cast and also Ultimate Vault Hunter and get to do cool things with one of my favorite games.
And our another guest today is Triple G. If you could introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm not very good with stuff like this. I'm Triple G. I have not been streaming 6 years. My favorite color isn't blue. I have loved Borderlands since the entire series has started. My channel only started in January the 24th, but I've been extremely fortunate in that we've had a lot of lucky breaks, and the game that I chose to make content for chose to love me back. So here we are.
So we're gonna hop off to the first question, and Triple, lots of your viewers, especially male ones, but I'm not judging, want to ask you one very important question. How do you make your beard look so fantastic?
It is pretty awesome.
I literally do nothing to my beard whatsoever. I literally do nothing. It's all natural. I don't use any products whatsoever. I actually spoke to Triple J just before here, and she was like, "Tell them she said tell them that it's the tears from her love." I'm like, that makes no sense whatsoever. I'm not saying that, but here they are. I did, but I don't use anything at all. I go to the barbers to have it shaped, and that is it.
Very impressive.
Yeah, and about your beard, Tess. No.
Yeah, I literally, I was like, I have nothing to add to that.
but you're just going to the barber and get it put in shape, beard oils or creams or
no oils,
nothing.
no nothing.
All natural.
I literally pay £4 for a woman to talk at me for 20 minutes while she does it, and then done.
Does it cost extra if she doesn't talk?
So jealous.
I might try that. She does waffle.
I was at the salon just yesterday from 9 in the morning till about 2:30 in the afternoon getting my hair recolored. Yep. I hate you. Also it cost I'm not even gonna tell you how much it cost. A lot.
Maybe I should dye my beard blue once for you. When's your birthday, Tess?
September.
Just missed it.
I almost would love it if you would do that, but I think it would destroy your beard because it's not hard. It's not that easy. So don't do it because your beard is amazing. So.
We'll do a blue rinse. That's what the older people do, don't they?
You could try. I would appreciate it. I would.
Man, like a blue beard. I'd actually love to see that. Have it in September, blue beard, October, then shave it off because it's broken anyway, and then have the whole Movember to grow it all back. Amazing idea. I'm all for it. So to dive right into game-related questions for once. Wow. So guys, for you both, what was your guys' first video game?
First video game.
I can actually answer this one.
Yeah, you go.
I had to think about it for a second. Well, you should answer too, but I think my actual very first one was Kingdom Hearts 1. And it was in college already. I had not really played video games growing up. My parents and I together moved from Russia when I was 7 to the US. I did not grow up with video games. I did not grow up with video games. It just was like not a thing. I just read a lot of books. And then I got to college and I was very into technology and like graphic design and photography and like all these different things. And one of my friends, I got like a really bad case of the flu. And so I was home for like a week and a half, just like sick. And after like 2 or 3 days, she came by and she's like, okay, I brought you your homework. You can ignore that and just like worry about it later. And I brought you, this is my old game system, like a PlayStation 2. And here is because she knew that I like Disney stuff and was like, here's a game. And just I'm gonna plug it in for you, and then you just do that. Just trust me. And I was like, okay. And I was super addicted. I 100% at that game. And then I wanted to play like everything I possibly could after that. And then there's a long story about me moving to PC games because I injured my hand and didn't think I could ever play video games anymore and all this stuff. But anyway, Kingdom Hearts 1.
Sorry, I had to
you?
Google the name of the game because I couldn't remember. I could see the visual of the game, but I couldn't remember the name of it. So my first game was on a Commodore 64, which means I'm much older than you guys. And
I would be surprised. Continue.
it was a game called Mars, and you just had your little rover and you just jump over obstacles and stuff like that. But I did like Arkanoid as well on the Commodore 64, and there was a football or soccer game wherever you are in the world, that I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, that was my first game.
Wow.
Cool.
So like really old school gamer we have here from like both ends. So and what like you already dipped a little bit into this in your introduction with like what got yourself into Borderlands. You guys just actually just picked it up one day or you got recommended and the game decided to like love you with the same love that you guys had for it?
I mean, so I discovered Borderlands 1, I think by accident. I think it was a trailer for Borderlands 1 when it was about to come out. So like I intended to play Borderlands 1 with friends, but nobody else who said they were going to get the game got the game. So I ended up playing it on my own. Like didn't really like have a clue about builds or anything like that. And then just carried on playing from Borderlands 1 all the way through every other game, apart from Telltale games. Don't judge me on that. I haven't played them.
I'm judging. Okay, we've had this conversation. I'm sorry. It's been too long. You should have played it by now. You need to just like do the thing because
You
it's
actually can't
awesome.
buy them now, Tess.
But I have a way, I think. We'll test it or something, but there's got to
But
be a
also
way.
as well, also as
Nothing
well,
illegal here, please.
I'm the skip the cutscene guy. Like Telltale games doesn't really appeal to me. I skip everything.
But it's awesome. Fine. Whatever.
Don't worry, I played the game to see the story as well, so I understand you. This is a hard thing to like in the world of looter shooter where everyone is about builds and better guns and getting all the legendaries, but yeah.
The story.
It doesn't matter what game it is. It doesn't matter what game it is. I will skip cutscenes on everything. I'm not interested. I just want to play the game. I just want to play.
I'm
so
actually
different.
with Triple G on this one because like I'm the same in this. Like the first time, okay, Borderlands 2, I started with Borderlands 2 because friends got me into it and never played with me. Same thing. And the first time I played the story was amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah, handsome Jack, cool villain. The second time I was already bored out of my mind. And then I figured out how to sequence skip in this game as good as possible. And then I just continued doing this over and over and over. So like story's
for
cool
me,
ones.
I don't know. I like good stories. Maybe because I grew up reading too many books. I don't know. But when I played Borderlands 2 the first time, I didn't get to play Borderlands 1 until they released the remaster of it. I played Borderlands 2, like I said, like 3 days into starting streaming. I so sort of long story short, I hurt my hand not long after I played Kingdom Hearts 1. And I didn't think I could ever play video games again, and I was really sad because I really liked that experience. I pulled like a bunch of tendons and ligaments and tore things in my hand, and it was pretty bad damage. And so for like a year, I didn't play anything because I can't move my thumb at still. This was like 10 years ago. I can't move my thumb in that circular motion. Like this is my left hand, this is my right hand. My camera's married. Um, so I just can't use a controller, can't play on console unless I use an adapter, that kind of thing. Um, One of my friends was like, "But you can still," because I was lamenting this, and he was like, "But you can still use a keyboard and mouse. You use one for school." And I was like, "Oh yeah." Like, "Why don't you play PC games?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And then I got really addicted to EVE Online for about 4.5 years, so that's a whole other story. And then I wanted to play other things besides EVE Online, and my friends were like, "You should just stream on Twitch so that we can watch because we wanna hang out," and I wanted to hang out. I really missed having people to talk to. I tried, like, Portal 1 and 2 and really liked it, and tried, like, Half-Life 1 and 2 and really liked it, and the viewer that came in that recommended Borderlands 2 asked me the same question, and I was like, "Well, blah, blah, blah," and he's like, "You probably like this game called Borderlands 2. You should just get it and play it," and I was like, "Okay." And I got really, really, really addicted, did a bunch of, like, really long, like, 18 or 24-hour streams that first year of streaming, just playing Borderlands 2, for charity and just in general, and then, like, never really looked back. Yeah, it was just a viewer recommendation. I couldn't play 1 originally because I tried after going through Borderlands 2 a couple of times. I was like, "Let me try to play 1 because why not?" Right? The prequel wasn't out yet. I think I couldn't increase the field of view and turn off the motion blur, and my computer would crash, like, when I would try. So my computer at the time was, like, not capable of doing things. Anything but Eve. It was good at Eve, that was it. So I couldn't really play it, and then I did play 1 when they released the remaster, and I really liked it, and I played the pre-sequel when that launched, actually.
Streaming, I have another question for you. So, if some of you never seen Tess streaming, like her all overlay and everything during the stream is staying in the same vibe of blue and cats. You probably seen her cat at the very beginning of the interview. And also Tess have like this tiny cat camera on her streams shaped like cat. That's so cute. And like you can see on this camera your cat sitting there just chilling with you. So the question is, where do you take the inspiration for like your whole setup, room, coloring, everything for your streams?
Oh god. I really like blue and cats and literally that's just
No way.
I just put the things that I like on camera. The excuse for the cats was really just they don't always like to hang out next to me while I'm live, especially the white one that you guys saw. It was like a total aberration to her to have her come up here while I'm talking. She hates it. She just wants me to shut up and pet her. So, but when I talk, she usually is like in another room, or like right now she's actually next to me, but she's like under the desk. So you guys can't see her, but I could put her on camera. And I ended up just like wanting to have a camera because I would talk about the cats on stream, and people would be like, "Well, go get the cat and show us. We wanna see." So I would stop playing the game, which in Borderlands meant that I just died and all my friends ran away to do their own thing. And I would, like, pick up the cat and bring her and show her, and this was before I even had Gingy, the second cat. And it would just, like, halt the gameplay a lot, so I decided to just put them up forever. Um, and just, like, have them on video, and I got this, like, really cheap, I don't remember what it was, like, security camera thing, just so I could control it to have it move to follow where the cat went, because cats don't really stay in one place that much. And it worked okay, but it was pretty terrible, and then over the years, I kind of upgraded because I got sick of those cameras dying on me all the time. So now my apartment has, like, really nice cameras on the inside just to follow cats. They're not actually being used for security, which is really ridiculous. But But yeah, the blue is just honestly, it just kind of. This is actually a terrarium behind me. There's a crested gecko. I don't think you guys can see him right now. Yeah, he's always hiding.
Be hard
But
to
there's a
find.
lizard that lives in there. Yeah. And it was just like I feel like streams in general, or at least my stream, I feel like I want it to be aesthetically pleasing because your eyeballs are glued to the screen for however long, right? Like your viewing experience, I want to provide like a pretty one. And so I mean everybody has different definitions of what's beautiful, and that's totally awesome. But I just figured I might as well put up the stuff that I like, and hopefully people will come in that also like the stuff that I like, and then we can talk about it. So yeah,
Right
so
here, right
it's
now,
just
right? About your pets and your style you're having on your streams. Well, let's talk about Borderlands maybe for a bit now. Triple, I want to ask you, what's your absolute favorite build in Borderlands 3 for currently, and why?
What my builds or just the favorite
I
build
mean,
in
you
general?
can mention someone's build or your own that you like really enjoy playing and using while you play.
So I don't want to talk about myself. So the build that I probably fell in love with the most was a K6 build called Mosinator or Mozerker, I think it is actually. One of the two. It's one of them. It has Mose in it. And it was one of the first bottomless mags. So I didn't actually really realize. So, true story, I hated Mose at the start of the game. Like, I just could not be bothered to every 5 minutes have to be throwing a grenade just to stay alive all the time. I'm not into that. So like I tried it and I was like, nah, I'm done. And it wasn't until I was like, I might have even streamed for about 2 or 3 months before I even max leveled a Mose. Like I just wasn't interested. And then I was watching one of K6's videos and he was using this build, which is bottomless mags. And then they brought out the Sappercom, which meant that you could just stay alive without throwing grenades. And then that was it. Then there was a switch. So that so K6's Mo's build was probably the one that kind of stands out. The build that I like using the most at the moment though is my Zane Shoulder of Fortune, because you have all the survivability, all the speed, and all the damage just all at the same time. So like when I'm in my downtime, so I try not to play Borderlands too much when I'm not streaming, just so like I'm fresh for when I am streaming. But if I am playing Borderlands on my own time, I'm doing a man-on-one takedown and I'm using Shoulder of Fortune just to mindlessly kill enemies, pretty much.
I see. What about you, Tess? What's your favorite build to use? From anyone. It could be yours, could be from anyone. And why?
I'm not okay, so I work on Ultimate Vault Hunter a lot. So like lately I've been playing because I edit that and film it while we're doing all of that. But like I've started working on builds kind of, but they're just not nearly as OP as everybody else's builds. What I really like is trying other people's builds. And I hate to give credit where it's due,
This is
but
covered.
my favorite build is actually GT Shorty, or the new version of GT Shorty, which is Mama Bear, which Triple G put together. It's like the most incredible, fun, easy mode build you could ever imagine putting together. First of all, it's super, super, super strong. It basically melts everything. Like I never have to reload. I never have to buy ammo. I can just hold down the fire button and just look at things and they'll die, and that's it. And it's glorious. And I love it so much. So Mama Bear with the new purple tree, or GT Shorty before that, Triple G's build. My absolute favorite.
Bang average.
2 out
Great
of
line.
9 can be okay.
And like 5 out of 7 definitely
Mm.
can work when it does. Okay, but like now that we've found like favorite builds and favorites, my question to you both of you would be what you guys consider like your most and least favorite part of like Borderlands 3 in specific, like when you play, or what you already have played.
The hate of Ava. Easy question. Most pointless part of Borderlands 3 is the hate of Ava. The only character in the series that actually talks common sense all the way through, and she's the most hated because she's accurately represented as an annoying teenager. But that doesn't mean that what she's saying isn't valued and true. And that's why Lilith put her in charge. And now everyone's going to hate me, but it's true.
Hey, I don't.
I
hate
kind
it.
Start
of-
to make like a checklist for every interview, and I should have like, we talk about Ava, and if she's bad or good, check right now, you know.
I mean, strong opinions on this topic. It's not like where you have the very vocal majority, like in Borderlands 2, where it's like, yeah, Tiny Tina is the best thing that happened to the entire series, and then you have like this very unvocal minority. It's like, yeah, actually, first
But-
playthrough, funny jokes, but after that, just
The mo-
annoying.
The most common thing that happens on stream, and I use this analogy all the time, is that they say Ava's the reason for Maya dying. Okay. Now, I want you to imagine everybody in your houses right now. I want you to imagine that your mom has just sent you to the shops. Okay. And while you're at the supermarket or grocery store, wherever you are in the world, while you're at that superstore, a robber comes in and shoots you dead. Okay. Right. Whose fault is it that you died? Is it your mom's for sending you there? Or is it the robber that killed you? And that's the same analogy for Maya and Ava. It's not Ava that killed Maya. Troy and Tyreen killed Maya. It's as simple as that. It's got nothing to do with that Ava was there or not. The murderer is the murderer.
1000% agree with him, by the way. Like, I am annoyed by Ava just like everybody else because she's meant to be annoying. But actually, she's a decent character, and like, I am Maya's literal biggest fan. I
Say
like
that.
Yeah, I mean, I played Maya exclusively for the first probably like 5.5 years of the time that I spent in Borderlands 2. I didn't start playing like I played Gage and Zero, but only right before Borderlands 3 launched because I wanted to replay through the game and I was already streaming on the Borderlands channel, so like I wanted to kind of explore other characters. Because I was like, well, I played Maya for so long. I did multiple playthroughs with Maya also still. Literally one of my favorite characters. I love her style, obviously. I love her attitude. I love everything about her. She's amazing. And so that's probably the thing that I hate is that she dies. But I 1000% agree with Triple that Troy and Tyreen, who I absolutely, that's probably the thing I hate the most, is Troy and Tyreen. I hate them more than I hate Maya dying, which maybe the same, not more, but the same. Absolutely despise them. When I play with unmuted dialogue, which I don't do all the time, the screaming also, I absolutely hate that everything I shoot at screams at me. It's so annoying. So I usually like will mute the dialogue in combat as much as I can just because I can't deal with the screaming. So anyway, even when I play with dialogue unmuted, I will mute Troy and Tyreen because they're just I just want to smash their stupid faces in. Anyway.
I like to.
I mean, like wanting to
It's
smash
supposed
the
to be,
evil guys'
like-
faces in is kind of the point of a game, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like, if you love them to death, then why are they evil? But one thing that
Some
I
people
have
do.
to say that I liked about Ava in like looking at like the orphan token character for Borderlands for each title that we had except one is like that you can actually witness how she more or less goes like the stages of grief, like anger, denial, bargaining, all that, while still being like, a teenager. And it's like it feels a little bit more natural sometimes during the story. And yeah, she's annoying, like no one's saying otherwise, but from a standpoint of like quality, I would agree that she's like one of the qualitative higher ranked side characters to be main characters of the story.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah. Somebody in chat I saw said Tyreen is cute. And like visually, yes. In every other way, she's so annoying. Like I feel like she's way more like a bazillion times more spoiled and entitled and selfish and annoying and just horrible. Because Tyreen and Troy are also teenagers, right? They're maybe a
Yeah.
smidge older than Ava, but also like if you take a look at Ava's upbringing, right? And then also Angel's upbringing and how her dad literally stuck her in a bubble and used her for his own evil ends for most of her life, and she had like no ability to interact with other people and was under his control and was like blah blah blah. And she ended up being a force for good in the universe, right? Despite all that. And Tyrene, her dad literally gave her an entire planet to play on and like tried to take the best possible care of her. And she was like, "Meh, I don't want to stay here. I'm gonna go and eat the entire world." She's just, I hate her so much. Oh my God.
I differ from that opinion, but we could be here all day if I try and convince Tess that she's wrong.
You never will.
Because Calypsos are generally like those typical cringe TikTok streamers that everyone hate, and I don't know where they get their fans from. Like, there's a difference between Jack and Calypsos, because Jack, you love to hate. He's great character, but you hate him as Vault Hunter. But with Calypso twins, you both hate them as character and hate them as player. I mean, I think that's what many people think as well.
I think if you you're gonna get me onto this, like, oh god,
We should move on.
Right, so like if you forget the Calypsos for a second and you said that you were to raise two children were going to be raised completely in isolation on a farm, like you would feel sympathy for those children to have never seen the world and have never experienced the kind of all the things that other children should experience. So it is no wonder.
But not enough to make it okay to go and eat the world as soon as you get out.
No, I didn't say that. Like, but you would feel sympathy for what their upbringing. Now they made bad choices. They made bad choices afterwards. But I don't think it's as cut and dry as like I get that she has some annoying lines, but they also have some of the best lines in Borderlands 3. Like phase lock out of nowhere is my sub noise. Like it's the best thing in the world. And then God Queen Tyrene coming at you live from the HBC. Like I mean, come on.
Sorry.
Best.
No. No. I hate her so much. Everything about both of them is just, yeah, they did a good job in making me hate them. I hate them a lot. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on. Like,
Yeah.
because to my initial question, it was like a second part. Now that we talked about like what, least favorite part of like Borderlands 3, what's like your most or like your favorite part in Borderlands 3?
I'll let Tess go first before she tries to convince me otherwise.
I was literally about to say you first. My favorite part. Probably, oh God, that's really hard. I like a lot of things about Borderlands 3.
Mhm.
DLC 4 is definitely one of my favorite things because, hi, Maya. The gun, I'm going to say three things because I just can't pick one. So DLC 4, I absolutely love because I love spending time with Maya. I love how they had all of these incredible story moments and visual, like everything about the visuals of the world where Maya is and the one afterwards also, and all the little Easter eggs and all the stuff. I just really loved it. But just in general, the gunplay and the graphics are like mind-blowing to me. I've played a ton of other shooters. I played Destiny for many, many years and liked it a lot and still like it a lot. And that game, I think, until Borderlands 3 came out, had the best sort of feeling gunplay of basically any shooter out there, including Doom and COD and all of them. Destiny really, really has like there's something special about the way it just feels to run and shoot things or like run around in the world and shoot things, right? And then Borderlands 3 came out and they one-upped them in my opinion. Like the gunplay in Borderlands and how different some of the guns feel, but good all of them feel, and the gun sounds and just the oomph behind the like whatever it is that you're shooting, and it's just incredible. And the graphics, of course. I'm definitely a graphic snob. I'm definitely like a visual person, so it's just like eye candy all the time. I love it. Triple.
Yeah, so my favorite thing about the game is that clearly what Gearbox did was they saw that I selected Zane as my main, and then made him the best character, gave him the best lines, gave him the best action skills, it made him the strongest bow hunter by like a mile. So like I can sit here on my pedestal loving the fact that I have the best vault hunter there is, and there's just no way anybody can argue about me. I have the most survivability, I have the most damage, I just have the most everything, and I have the funniest lines. It's just period. There's nobody can tell me any other way. It's amazing.
Similar question for you, Triple. So there is that one thing that all the cool kids do right now these days, and that would be the Endgame Rush challenge, which you came up with and started. So for those who are not familiar with it, it's I mean, maybe you want to talk about this. Maybe you want to tell us where your idea came from, what it's all about, and because it ends tomorrow, right? So there's still slight chance to get into. So if you could tell us more about this project.
Yeah. So Endgame Rush happened completely by accident. It was something I did on the Borderlands channel when I started streaming on the Borderlands channel, which would be take a build which I considered would be an endgame build, which was pretty much min-maxed, but still obtainable in terms of gear. And then we would just run it through all the endgame content. So the true takedowns, the 3 slaughter shafts, and the 6 proving grounds. Now, when I did it on the Borderlands channel, we'd be just casually going through. It would take us anywhere between 3 to 4 hours just chilling. And then a few weeks ago, when we were doing this, we decided to push it and see how fast we could do it. And then kind of one thing led to another. And we came up with this community challenge. Now, there is only a day left to enter this kind of version of Endgame Rush because it ends tomorrow. But we have categories for both PC and old gen console. So next gen console and PC are together, and then old gen console. And we've got like a top 10 leaderboard, which is all publicized on my Twitter account. So it's essentially do it as fast as you can. Don't use any skips and just kind of have fun with it. Anybody that posts a time that is around 2 hours to 2.5 hours is a very, very good time. If you consider that the Proving Grounds Gearbox designed them so they were done in around about 15-20 minutes, most of the people that are on the top 10 leaderboards can churn out the Proving Grounds in about 2.5, maybe it's anywhere between 2.5 and like 4.5 minutes, depending on the Proving Ground. The person leading at the moment on PC is Garwood. He's done a crazy time of like 1 hour and 19 minutes for all that content, which is crazy. His Guardian Takedown takes him 19 minutes, which is just crazy. And then on console, a guy called Shadow Assassins, who I hadn't heard of. He's a Twitch streamer, and he did it on console with Zane. So both on console and on PC, Zane is leading with a couple of flaks behind. Now, the real big surprise really is that Amara is nowhere to be seen, considering she used to be one of the fastest characters. And there's a couple of reasons probably for that, and that is that Ties that Bind Wall is considered like one of the best things for mobbing. You can't mob as fast as Zane can with a Plague Bearer or Black can with a Nova. So yeah, it's Endgame Rush. Like I said, there is another challenge coming out, which we're going to announce on the Bordercast on New Year's Eve. I can't tell you what it is right now. I can't give you any hints whatsoever, but it is much more inclusive than the Endgame Rush and much shorter as well. So if you don't have a lot of time to do Endgame Rush, which will take you a couple of hours, the next challenge, it will be much, much shorter, and there'll be separate categories for each Vault Hunter and 2 different categories, but I can't tell you what they are because that would give away what we're doing. So you can look out for that. Like I said, we'll announce it on Bordercast on New Year's Eve, and then follow me on Twitter. All the rules and everything will be there. We'll let you know the rules before you actually have a chance to actually partake in it, so you can think about what you've got to do. I nearly spoiled what I was going to say. So yeah, you can think about what you're going to do. It's going to be fun.
Well, definitely looking forward to it. I have another question about this all. Like, was there anything that surprised you about this old challenge, about what it brought with like community or anything?
I mean, I wasn't expecting anyone to do it, is the short answer to it. I thought that people maybe in my chat would do it, but Quag, Garwood, Newt, like I think Newtmad was the first person I saw streaming it and doing it, and then Newt got Quag to do it. Quag would then kind of procced Lazy's, and then it just all kind of took off from there. So it's been great for the community because lots of people, it generated Twitter kind of a buzz. It gave me a chance to be like a sports commentator on Twitter as well. I was able to like drive up hype and then call people out. Like I still haven't managed to drag Moxie in, even though he definitely should have done a challenge. I think he's scared at this point. I think he's scared. He doesn't think he can make it. It's up to him. But yeah, we've had pretty much all the the end game min maxer builders on the leaderboard, which is good to see. And there's a lot of variety as well. I think Flack has taken a few people by surprise. So there's Quag's rack stab build, there's mine, Stabity Flack. Very, very similar builds. It's all about Novas. But season 2 will be very, very different in terms of rule sets. So there'll be no rocket launchers and no spamming Novas in season 2. So it will come a lot more about actual skill and gunplay.
Yeah, I've seen on Twitch directory, like at some point, if you like try to look at the Borderlands streamers, everyone was throwing the endgame rush who was there. Like literally every single streamer was doing just that instead of arms race for a break. And now people say like, oh, it's so fun to go back to arms race after the break I did for the endgame rush.
So I'd been splitting my stream between, I'd do an endgame rush and then I would do arms race for the second part because like it's intense. Like when you get like, so the board goes from 1 hour 20 to 1 hour 40. So you've got, and that's 10 positions. Like we were talking, I did a run today where I took 5 minutes off my time, and the first few segments, I was taking 40 seconds off those times. And you think, well, 40 seconds isn't nothing, but you kind of, as you kind of add those all up, it becomes, it turns into 2 or 3 minutes, and it's the difference between getting on the board and getting off the board. So even though my first tweet, this is casual, just for fun, all this kind of, everybody just jumped on it. It was like, this ain't casual. I'm going to embarrass my friends and knock you off the board kind of thing. So it was fun. Been fun.
Great. So since we're like on the topic of like, community, everything and involvement, and because I see Tess falling asleep over there, I'm going to ask you, Tess, tell us about like how you got involved into Ultimate Vault Hunter, or like the whole ecosystem of like the Gearbox related streams. What got you into this?
Well, so when I first joined like the Borderlands stream team, I had no idea that they were even thinking of doing like the Bordercast and Ultimate Vault Hunter, and I just had no idea. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna stream on the Borderlands channel and get to play Borderlands, and okay, that's super like I was so happy that they had announced Borderlands 3 at all at that point. So I was totally not prepared. And then they just asked me, they were like, hey, Mitsu has this idea for a show and we'd love for you to co-host. And I was like, okay, I've never done that before, but sure. And then I ended up sort of doing all the behind the scenes technical stuff for that. And so we did that show for like, I want to say about a year before Ultimate Vault Hunters became a thing. And that was kind of Mitsu's brainchild, to showcase community members and their awesome builds, because that's a huge part of the game, and it allows us to kind of really showcase not just amazing builds for the game, but the amazing people that put them together, right? And Liz, who got super into 55, in case you guys are wondering, she's incredible. She got super into Borderlands when it first launched. And like Mitsu and I were like, can she please be on the team? Because she's amazing. Because we know her from like Destiny and other things. And so they put her on the team. And she's an amazing host also. And so, like they wanted to have her host Ultimate Vault Hunters. And because I had already done all of the technical stuff for Bordercast, and Mitsu writes all the questions, and like, we basically Mitsu and I produce Ultimate Vault Hunter, Liz hosts, and then we have awesome people like Triple G as guests, right? So like when we film that, because it is pre-recorded, it's myself and Mitsu and Liz and the guest filming. I'm recording everything. I basically get them all into a Zoom call and then do all of behind the scenes capture, and then I'm also capturing the game so that I can go through like the menus and choose all of the skills and show all of the items and the builds and all of that stuff. And then after we record, I edit it, doing like basically cleaning up the actual interview part and including gameplay and stuff like that. So it wasn't something I was kind of like expecting to do at all, but it became a cool thing that I get to do, and I love it. Like, I haven't really had the time, to devote to editing anything in years and years and years, and so this gives me the opportunity to do that, which is really cool, and just getting to know the builders and getting to know the builds and getting to try the builds and play them because some of the gameplay is recorded by the builders themselves, and sometimes I'll add to it. So, like, I'll take the save and I'll play a little bit and, just, like, because I need, like, a section here or a section there to put in the edit. And so it's just been a really cool project to work on. I don't know where the idea came from. I think you'd have to ask Mitsu that, but I think it's a brilliant idea, and I'm really glad that I can sort of be a part of it and contribute to making it happen. It's really cool, and Liz is amazing, and all of our guests. I mean, Triple G, for example, has been on it a bunch, and that's how I got to know about GT Shorty, which is literally my favorite freaking build ever. It's so fun to play, and I feel like I've actually learned a ton about the game just watching that show, which has been really cool.
And you also like talked about how you're like editing these episodes as well. We were wondering like how hard this task is, and if you even enjoy it, or if you were more like pushed into the position, and now you're just doing it because you can do it.
No, I kind of offered to do it, because so like just capturing the border cast and streaming it is more complicated than it sounds. It's not that bad, like, I've streamlined it, and, like, I love technology. I love building keyboards, I love building PCs, I love talking tech, I love all like, my stream is ridiculous. I don't recommend this for anybody else that streams. Mine is ridiculous. But my crazy setup allows me to do all of these cool things, right? I have 3 computers that I'm using to stream,
17.
and what?
17 computers.
3. The other ones are
Fine.
not mine, they're Rob's. Um, so I may have built them, but they're his. But anyway, yeah, so, like, I use 3 computers, I do have a lot of capture cards. I think I currently have, like, 7 Avermedia, I always mispronounce it, capture cards connected. It's ridiculous, it's totally ridiculous, but it allows me the freedom to capture in the best possible quality to get everybody's. I have a Go XLR for audio, all that stuff. And like other people can do what I do, obviously, but it was fun for me to figure out how to set it all up so that it was the best quality it could be, for Bordercast. And then when we were starting up Ultimate Vault Hunter, I just kind of naturally was like, oh, okay, so we'll set it up the same way. And it makes it easier, I think, for our guests and the host, for Liz to not have to worry about that stuff. Like they can just show up and do their awesome thing, and then I can edit it afterwards. And it's actually been really nice. Like I said, I didn't feel pushed into it. I kind of offered to do it because I wanted the opportunity. I wanted to get to know more cool builds and things like that. And I love editing. Oddly enough, I actually really enjoy editing. It's a nice break from streaming for me. I love streaming so much, but I have been doing it for a very, very, very long time, and it can be stressful, especially when you are like, if you're a full-time content creator and you've been doing it for a really long time and you're basically doing, 8 or more hours every single day and you take a day off and you're like scared to take a day off because that's just the nature of streaming because you're going to lose subs and you're going to lose whatever. And it's just stressful, right? And so I definitely burnt myself out a little bit when Destiny first launched, when Destiny 2 first launched, and it took me
Oh
like
yeah.
years to recover from that. I streamed like 390 hours in the first month of that game's launch. Don't do that. It's dumb. I like made myself sick. It was bad. And yeah, and so like it took me like years to get over that. And then when Borderlands launched, I also streamed it a lot and I was really happy to stream it a lot. I'm still really happy to stream it, but like editing is like it's still work, but it's like a more chill kinda off camera kind of work, but it still allows me to be creative and, like, lets me work on my favorite game in a way and showcase it. And so it's been really nice to get to do that. And I've learned things that I didn't know before because obviously like the last time I really edited anything was before I started streaming. So because I didn't have time that whole 6 years. I was just like I gave up on YouTube very quickly because I was like, there's no way. I just have to stream because that's the mentality, right? And so now I've gotten the chance to like take a step back and like relearn how to edit and get better at it. And now I want to actually do YouTube as well as Twitch because that creative outlet is there and I'm just like, "Oh, cool." And so it's really nice. I love working on Ultimate Vault Hunter. I hope we can do like more cool things like that in the future. We'll see. But if we can sort of find the time and things like that, but I just want to keep doing stuff like that. I really enjoy it.
Mhm. Okay, now I want to ask you about something, if we talk about creative stuff. So, there is a lot of talk around the community about if we're gonna get another takedown, or will, for example, DLC 6 bring us another arms race map, which would be really awesome. Because, I mean, arms race is amazing, and it would be cool to have another place. So, I want to ask you if any ideas. What would be a cool new theme for another takedown? Or, for example, what kind of planet or place you would like to see another arms race in? Like any ideas for the theme or where it could happen, for example? To both, of course, the question.
Gonna let Purple go first on that one because I just talked a lot.
Thanks for that.
But I have thoughts.
I mean, so arms race really. So they had the theme of like kind of that Borderlands 2 area in the first map. I mean, I don't know if I specifically I don't know if I specifically want a new arena. I would have a new arena. I suppose I think the longevity in arms race is the reasons why you would want to do arms race. So, you know, there are a ton of things in Borderlands Endgame that are fun, but most of the time when people play those things, it's because they want loot. So, like, what I would like to see really is not necessarily the environments change, but them to have the ability to just surprise us now and again and say, you have a week starting Thursday to play arms race, and you have a chance to get a wedding invitation just for a week, and just watch the community just go, wait, what? And then go for it. Like, it doesn't, I don't think we need to be building these grand, like, new areas, although I would love them. Oh, I would love them. But like, just taking the takedowns, like they did with the Mayhem 6 weapons, they added the Mayhem 6 weapons to the Guardian takedown to try and give people more incentive to do the Guardian takedown. Like, I would just love to see them just surprise us out of nowhere, like just randomly. And you know, the same with the OPQ and with the yellow cake, that kind of thing. Just throw them into arms race. Like, I could see us doing like a COV arms race map, or you know, maybe a Moxie's Underdome kind of reinvention of an arms race kind of thing. But I think when it comes down to it, like, most of the players, particularly those that are still playing the game now, are people that are really after the loot and after those perfect rolls and after those things, and especially items like the wedding invitation and the yellow cake, the OPQ, those type of weapons that you can't get right now. Like, people would flood into arms race for them. Yeah, I kind of didn't answer your question, but I did. Apologies.
More or less, yeah. What about you, Tess?
Yeah, for me, I feel like I'm a weird Borderlands player. Like, I do play for the loot, but I more play for the experience, right? So I want more different experiences, right? I want more eye candy, more like visual, like locate different locations and things like that. Obviously, I want awesome loot. Like that's like a given, right? But for me, I would love to see an arms race maybe be in a location like Skywell because I love that kind of spacey backdrop. Um, and I actually really like the low grav. It's really fun. I love the way it's done in Borderlands 3 specifically. And I like Sky Map is probably or Skywell is probably one of my favorite maps or one of my favorite areas. I'd also love to see them do more things on Athena's, but I think Skywell would be my first choice or an underwater location. That'd be kind of cool.
I think it was on one of your streams lately, right? On Borderlands, we discussed about the underwater location for the
Yeah, I
Borderlands.
think we talked about it on maybe Bordercast or maybe just my stream. I
I
don't
think it was
remember.
after Bordercast when you were streaming like a week ago. Yeah, so like making an underwater location or like map. Yeah, that would be something definitely different.
Yeah,
and
it would be
wouldn't
so
guess
cool.
it's you with all
Yeah.
love for the blue color and like water and everything.
For the,
I don't like blue. I don't know what you're talking about.
Me neither.
also for the graphic lovers out there, you know, like having like this archway with glass, and you just look into the ocean, you see all these fish, and then
Oh,
usually
God.
like a huge sea monster in the distance, as it is per tradition for these things.
Yeah. Oh, man, that would be so cool. That would be amazing.
Stepson of Chromax, the Invincible.
Yeah.
The
Down
sister.
there. Okay, I want to also ask you if we could talk about new content for the game. I want to ask you, what do you think about new skill trees? Yes, we all have very strong emotions about Flag new skill tree that I am aware of. But like, is there anything that you would want to see being added to the skill tree or changed in them? What do you think about them in general?
So some people aren't going to agree with me here, so I'll put a helmet on instead. So so I think that the skill trees, and let me finish before you start throwing things at me. So I think the skill trees, all of those skill trees addressed certain things to round off those characters. So, for example, Flax Tree had no way of getting shields back and survivability in that sense. He could regen, he could do damage, he could do splash damage and pet damage. So it rounded him off. The same way with Mose, she didn't have elemental kind of thing, so that rounded her off. So I thought all the trees kind of rounded off those characters in certain ways. Like Zane's didn't have ASCs, that gave him that. So I thought it rounded off. Where I think there's probably an issue with the skill trees is the position of some of these skills in the height of where those skills are. So for me personally, so if you take Zane's commitments skill, which is like top tier, highest skill, you can pretty much take no other damage skills, like highest top tier, and then you take a top skill from Flax Tree, like say Fuzzy Math, right? Fuzzy Math is like you've got to give up and invest so many points to get Fuzzy Math. It's not actually worth it. You lose out on too much. So whilst I don't think that the trees are necessarily badly designed, I think that the position of some of the skills could do with some work. And there are a couple of skills in, for example, Amara's tree where cryo doesn't register for health regen and stuff like that. So there are some bugs to be worked out, but I think overall, the way that the trees were set out in terms of rounding the characters, I think it worked. They did round all the characters up, but I think the payoff for having to go so far down some of the trees just isn't worth it for some of the characters. Yeah.
Now we can throw items at you. Okay. Tess, what
So
about you?
yeah, I definitely don't have nearly as intelligently thought out an answer. I feel like there are things that the purple trees added to the gameplay of each character, but some of them are not necessarily as like awesome as, for example, Zane's purple tree. You know, Zane's purple tree has just like catapulted him into being the best character ever. And like Flack's purple tree, I feel like gives you a lot more survivability on Flack, but I can't say that I've been playing a whole lot of Flack lately. Like I'm just maybe it's because I'm just still stuck on Mose and how adorable Baby Bear is and how OP Mama Bear, which is basically GT Shorty with Baby Bear, is. So I don't know. I feel like the trees in general enhanced those characters. But Zane's actually it did more than enhance. It like catapulted him, to rise above all the others. So with the other three characters, like Amara's ball is a lot of fun to play with. Um, but I feel like they need a few tweaks maybe to make them measure up to Zayn at this point. So I don't know if that takes changes or just a few, buffs or here and there, something like that. But I would like to see people venture out. Like Zane has had his day in the sun and it's cool and he's great. He's wonderful. So why not play Zane? But also I would love the other characters to kind of match.
I
So
mean, I agree. I mean, Mo's does incredible amounts of damage. Flack has always done incredible amounts of damage. So I think people are kind of butthurt about Flack. Flack mains are butthurt. Like it's a common knowledge. Um, and the reason I think that they feel like that is because they got um a tree that has to have too much investment for losing it, and then the action skill itself doesn't actually do damage. It's a kind of a field immobilizing kind of skill. So I feel like they feel like they've been double punished. So the only Flak build that I produced was a Peregrine Flak build that actually didn't really have much to do with the trees themselves. It was more about gear. Um, so I feel like that's why Flak mains are struggling to come to terms with Flak not getting too much out of it. But Flak already could do the most damage, out of any Vault Hunter. So and I mean consistent damage, with his either Gorillas in the Mist setup, stack bot, or whatever you were running. So I feel like Flak already had that. So it would have been very difficult for them to give him another action skill that was also damage. But yeah, I can understand the Flak main's point of view.
yeah. Like I feel like it gave Flack survivability which he needed, but also like people don't tend to choose that action skill. And when you get something new, especially since it's part of the paid DLC, I can also understand people wanting it to be like it's shiny and new. I want to use it, but it doesn't do
Hmm. And I
cool
think I
things.
think the problem I think the problem comes because if you look at objectionally, if you look at all Vault Hunters, you say Amara can health regen so fast it's stupid. Like, as long as you're doing damage to someone, you can't die. Zane has a barrier that literally nullifies most of the damage that comes anywhere near him. And he also has really fast and instantaneous health regen when he's using Seeing Dead. Mo's can get millions of shields or millions of Iron Bed protection as well. And if you're running Sapper, you just can't die if you're shooting. And then Flak has a percentage health regen in his trees, or he has fuzzy math, which you just have to lose so much damage to get to fuzzy math. So I can understand it. I definitely can understand it, and it may be that it gets tweaked. Observational wise on how they deal with trees is they usually take um a particular Vault Hunter and then they go at it and do some changes. So we've just seen that with Zane. They made loads of comm changes to Zane. They made loads of skill trees changes to Zane, and skill point changes to Zane. So it may be that Flack's turn is, coming around.
Yeah, we'll see. Here's hoping.
Yeah, like when I look at like the history of how Borderlands 3 has been fixed, I always felt like that Zane got like the most attention because when he came out, he was like kind of lackluster compared to the others. But then came Seeing Dead, and then he was like in the spotlight for so long, and now he got like shoulder gun, which also like adds so much more. And for the others, it was more like complementing what's there, and maybe yeah, like as you said, maybe they just need to like give like also a little turn on like the swip and swapping of the skill tree of the skill trees of different skills.
Yeah.
But talking about like swip and swapping, great transition. There are like a few weapons in Borderlands 3 that are like combinations of different band manufacturers, like the Jackhammer is Tyr and Hyperion, while the Duck is more like Torque and Jacobs. And I was wondering, and this is a creative question, if you guys could choose like one combination of two manufacturers in a weapon or a shield or a comm, what would you guys generally choose? What would you go for?
That's a
Good
hard question.
question. Um, well, okay, so I'm already I've already sort of gotten what I want with Arms Race and Tediore having its like day in the sun in that mode. But I would love to
Mm.
see Tediore have a day in the sun in the rest of the game, because like Tediore was it's just my favorite manufacturer because it's so fun. There are guns that talk, there are guns that like run around. I mean, the guns with legs thing, like it's the most fun. It's the most fun, and this game is all about fun, and yet very few Tediore guns in the main game are actually like top tier, almost none. You end up not really using Tediore in most of the builds all that much. And so like it's just my favorite thing because first of all, I hate reloading. I hate not doing damage. That's probably why I love Mama Bear and GT Shorty so much because I literally can never stop shooting. But I love how that was one of my favorite things in Borderlands 2. I instantly was like, Tediore, instead of a boring reload, I can chuck a grenade in your face. It's so satisfying, so much more satisfying than stopping the action to actually just fully reload. And now in Borderlands 3 with the guns with legs, it's just amazing. They're adorable. I have one somewhere around here. But anyway, I just like I love it. And so I want to see Tediore rise up in the base game, not just in Arms Race. And so like if they combined Tediore with like Hyperion, maybe that could be cool, or maybe with Molly one. I don't know. Like crazy things could happen. I just think it would be cool. I just want to see more Tediore stuff be actually strong.
What
Yeah, I
about
mean,
you?
this question is really difficult. This question is really difficult. So, I mean, the one thing I like, so my favorite weapon is the Maggie, but I would never want anything done to the Maggie. She's perfect as she is. But I think like I use the redistributor quite a lot, so it'd be pretty cool if I had the Smog's ability on the redistributor as well, and like add that to it, so that if I do aim down sights, I get even more damage. That'd be nice. But like that's all I really can think of. And most of the weapons in Borderlands 3, I kind of love the way that they are. I don't really look at any of them and think, oh, I wish you kind of did this, because if that kind of thought process that you have, generally speaking, there's a legendary that already does that. I'd probably like to see a bit more debuff in weapons go on as well. There's very few kind of debuffing weapons in, and anything that promotes co-op play, I'm on board with. Anything that promotes co-op play, I'm on board with.
Despite it being a very hard question, there were some great answers. Thank you, definitely. And I think I'm gonna just continue with like a difficult question, maybe not so difficult, who knows? Which is, which character or thing or event or the scene that we haven't seen yet in Borderlands 3 would you like to see return in Borderlands 3, maybe in a future DLC?
Fiona, please. That's easy. From Tales, which if you haven't played Tales, just
Don't know what
saying.
you're talking about.
Spoilers?
Fiona's really cool. There are a lot of really awesome, strong, like female characters in all of the Borderlands games, and I love seeing that. I feel like Borderlands has always been wonderfully inclusive. But Fiona is a really, really awesome character, and only the boys and Sasha too, her sister. You get a picture of Sasha and Gortys, actually. I want to see Gortys.
He said one.
Together, that would be awesome.
I'm
He said
sorry.
one.
Yeah,
You can
I
only
know.
pick
I
one.
know. Well, if I had to have one, I might
One thing.
actually go with Gortys over Fiona, even though like I
Ooh.
love Fiona and that was
For
the first one I
sure.
thought of. But for science,
Oh,
Gortys is just like the sweetest character ever. Hey, I didn't do it for that long. She's so cute and adorable, and she's just a wonderful technological ball of love and cuteness, and I love her. So I want to see more of all of the girls from Tales. That's what I want. That's my character. I know it's 3 characters. Shut up.
Actually, like had this one situation in the server where we discussed what happened to characters that are not shown yet in the BL3. And I remember this idea of having Loaderbot and Gortys living somewhere like in very remote place in tiny house, and they just try to pretend they live like human beings as the robots over there. And this idea was so great, but at the same time, people said like they never cried so hard about the game and they want it in there.
Yeah.
Well, what about you? Who would you want to, or what do you want to see? Triple.
I'm going to bend the rules. Just tell Tess off. for bending the
Okay.
rules.
Just told her off, and now you're gonna do it
I-
your own.
I want to play Morty again, but with Talon. I want them to add a new Vault Hunter, and I want to play a fully fleshed Borderlands 3 style tree as Mordecai, but with Talon. Like, I loved Mordecai in Borderlands 1, and I want Bloodwing, but I can't have Bloodwing, so I'll settle for Talon, and that's what I want. Please, right now, if you're listening, Gearbox.
They listen to us. Yes, please.
I mean, they could always do like this whole like Machine Island kind of thing, and suddenly we have like Machine Mordecai and Cyber Bloodwing, and it's like it's all robots.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
that
I'm
would be
on board.
awesome.
On
I
board.
like it. I like it.
So we've talked about things you want to see and you love. So now I'm gonna quote a question we also got for you guys. What's something you absolutely hate down to the bone in Borderlands and want to shoot it off to space and never see in franchise again? One thing this time, not three.
It's easy. Claptrap.
I love Claptrap. The screams, which I know is not a thing, but the screams, because like I hate having to turn off dialogue. I really do. I probably still mute Tyrene, but because she's stupid. But I really hate the screams. They are like it's like noise torture. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but like literally this is a thing. This is like a torture method that's used around the world, right? They put you in a room and they have like loud noises in your ears for hours, and then you come out like a puddly mess. Like, please, I'll answer all your questions. Don't put me back in there. That's how I feel when everything is screaming at me all the time. I hate it. But I love the dialogue and like, please.
I mean, what's wrong with the screams? Like, have you ever played Gage? It's like the most
Yes,
heavenly voice
and I
you've ever
had to
heard.
mute the game. I had to mute the game when I played as Gage. I couldn't do it. It was the worst thing in the universe. It
It
was
could have been
horrible.
worse. You could have been spiritual driver at Amara and felt like this was happening to you all the
That's
time.
that's
Oh,
I mean, I played Spiritual Driver
Ugh.
Amara a ton. My main before Moe's was Amara, so like yeah, that's
we won't
why.
talk about
I
that.
despise the screaming. I want the screaming to die in a fire. I know it's not an actual person, but yeah.
Maybe like Gearbox should come out with like a Monsters Inc. kind of gun that just collects the screams of the enemies and turns it into more damage or ammo.
Sure. That'd be
Then
cool.
so suddenly you have to leave them on because the game is cynical like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as I
Okay.
don't have to hear them.
So back to very hard questions with the quick answers. What's your favorite pie? Seriously asking that question. What's your favorite pie?
Can I answer as well?
I don't like pie.
I don't find myself eating a lot of pie. I guess peach pie, if I had to pick one. I just
You got someone
ask this
asking that
question.
question, so here it is. I don't know, people ask weird stuff. Someone asking about the game and someone asks what's your favorite pie.
I mean, I guess cake works as well. I mean, I love
Yes,
cheesecake.
what's your
I absolutely adore cheesecake. Like, it's the best thing
as
in the
long
world.
as
don't
it's
really
made
eat a
of
whole lot
cheese,
of
I love
cake
it too.
either, but yeah.
I don't like cake either. So
Man,
Yeah, ice cream cake. Anything coffee flavored or chocolate flavored, basically.
tiramisu.
Yeah, I do like tiramisu.
Mm.
I mean, like, if you give me a choice between just eating some coffee flavored ice cream or some chocolate ice cream versus eating tiramisu, like, probably 95% of the time, I'd still choose the chocolate or coffee flavored ice cream. Coffee is my favorite flavor ever in the world. Ice cream. But yeah, tiramisu is pretty great.
So now for a bit less confusing questions. If you were employed by one of the manufacturers for any position you can imagine, but one manufacturer from the game, like in current time of Borderlands, which manufacturer would you like to work for and why?
Cheetior, 'cause
Of course.
fun.
yeah, it'd have to be Jacobs just because I get to play with Maggie all the time. I think that'd be
So just
pretty
bias towards your favorite guns, I see. Okay.
yeah.
I mean, I would work for Hyperions. They go into finger guns everywhere. I would love to work there. Yeah, I mean, the Tales really shows like this is super cool place to work. At least it was until like the whole Helios went down.
Mm.
Yeah.
Humpy?
I mean, I'm gonna ask a question. We're gonna do like a little thing of like ranking. I would like you to rank the current Borderlands 3 DLCs from like best to worst in terms of like how you would rate them, like how good the guns are, length, blah blah blah, like metrics that you decide. What are the best ones? What are the worst ones? Let us know.
You can go first,
Um,
Tess. Ha.
well, we've sort of talked about this before. I feel like either I don't know somewhere I get streams and Bordercast and Ultimate Vault Hunter completely confused, so I have no sense of like when we talked about what. So I don't know, but we have talked about this before. So my favorite is definitely DLC 4 just because Maya and because like I feel like they brought her back to us in a very real way. I love the story in it and it was one of my like the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had streaming and playing any DLC for any video game. Like I'm a variety streamer, I stream a ton of Borderlands, but I do stream a ton of other things too. And I like of all of the DLCs that have ever dropped for any game, I feel like that one I had the most fun playing because it just progressed the story so much more. Like I love the story of that DLC almost better than the rest of the I can say that. I like the story of DLC 4 better than I like the actual main game. And I like the main game story. I just, that was such a good experience, like seeing Krieg and his whole story and Maya and like all of the little side quests, like the chess side quest, all of that. It was so much fun. And so I really love that one most. I think probably my second favorite, and this is really hard, is probably DLC 2, just because I really love the Lovecraftian art style and Borderlands' take on it. Um, I love all things like cyberpunky. I love technology combined with nature and old world stuff, especially. So, you can probably tell. But I just really love like the style of that DLC, and it was like Bloodborne is one of my other favorite games. I love Souls likes and that kind of like melee, precise, super challenging punch me in the face, please, every enemy experience. I don't know why, but I just really enjoy it. And Bloodborne was my first Souls game that I ever played, and I play it with a trackball and keyboard and like this crazy little keyboard that I built. And it's just like it's one of my favorite games, and like it's what turned me into a Souls player in general. And I feel like that DLC is very Borderlands, but also very Bloodborne in the best way. Like, even they went as far as having locked doors with people behind them, and you could knock, and they'll like yell at you, and it is great. It's just great, and I love the whole like heartwarming, wedding thing, and I just love the style of it. Like visually, it was so beautiful, and it had really good loot. And then I love DLC 1 because there's so many different environments like so many different locations, Trashlantis and like the casino and the low grav space. And it was just very like it was so much bigger than I was expecting it to be. So that was a really cool experience. And then of course I love DLC 3. Like I think Triple's gonna be like, "Arr." I can already see his face. DLC 3. A lot of people really love DLC 3 for the loot. And like the loot is important. It's very important. But to me, the experience of playing through the DLC is the most important thing. And that was great too. I love the like old Western meets Eastern kind of style of it all. I love Rose. Rose is like the most incredible, gorgeous character, and I just want more. She's like the female Jack because you can empathize with her and you can like her. She's intelligent and interesting and not a spoiled bratty butthole. Right? So she's really cool, a cool character. And so like even though she's a villain, I really want her to come back like and be a villain again. She's great. So but that it's only my least favorite in the sense that I like the other ones so much, but it's also a great DLC.
What about you, Triple G? Now's your turn.
So in reverse order.
Ooh.
So DLC 3 is hands down the best DLC, for a few reasons, in my opinion. The first of all, the story and the narrator was something that was tangible. Like, so in other Borderlands things, it's always kind of like tongue in cheek, a bit of fun, kind of, or it's tied into previous versions of the story. But like, I felt like DLC 3, there was a specific reason. It was, these people are in trouble. You've kind of seen this kind of story before, where the outlaws are causing some issues, and you're going in as the main protagonist to fix that. Like, and I just loved that. And the narrator, I thought, was just amazing. Like, from the very first second the narrator started talking, I was like, I mean, I don't care what this is, I'm gonna love it. And I did. The weapons, obviously, being a looter shooter, DLC 3 weapons are pretty much the weapons in the game, are a couple of exceptions in arms race. Then my next favorite would be DLC 4. I've said before, I'm not really a story person, but being a Maya main in Borderlands 2, it kind of pulled on the strings there. And I like the way that they circled round, and that as much as we all know Krieg as this person that likes meat bicycles and is just completely crazy to the nth degree, you saw these brief moments in Krieg's life as such, which we didn't get to see, where he was appreciated and recognized by the other characters in the game. So I quite liked those moments. Admittedly, I didn't really like the side missions in the DLC, but I quite like those touching moments at times. Then in joint last place, I wasn't a fan of DLC 2 or DLC 1, to be honest with you. Like, again, the loot from those doesn't really stand out too much. We got the Sapper from DLC 2, which is probably the one item that I kind of liked the most. But I'm not a fan of rocket launchers, so the ion cannon in DLC 1 didn't really do it for me. And again, we got Seen Dead from DLC 1, which is probably the standout item there. But like, I didn't like, I love the intro music to DLC 1, like the Handsome Jack intro music. I could listen to that all day. But I felt like it didn't carry that momentum through the DLC and DLC 1. And then with DLC 2, I just never really bought in. I actually thought, and this probably is controversial, I thought they went the wrong direction with Gage. Like, I didn't enjoy what they did with Gage, with having her having some kind of mental health issues, with which she was drinking mojitos, and I just didn't enjoy that. Like, I thought they could have done a better job with Gage, personally. Like, I thought she deserved a bit more. Like, she was a strong like female lead vault hunter in Borderlands 2, which a lot of people liked, and then she came across as this vulnerable character in DLC 2. Like, I wanted
They
to
calmed her
continue.
down a lot there, yeah. Made her way
like,
more calm than she was before.
yeah.
Yeah, like
So
almost
I'd like that a bit more.
Yeah, almost like they forced her to grow up just for the role, and her
Yeah.
character didn't like it. Yeah, but like I totally agree with the music on DLC 1's part, which is also one of my favorite things. Like Jesper Kidd made most of the music for the first DLC, and he does some amazing stuff. Also, it like fits very well. Like I love Cyberpunk, and this whole music can be used in like any pen and paper regarding Cyberpunk. It's amazing. But moving on onto our last question for this interview. You guys are almost through it. Don't worry. It's more like an opinionated question, which is, what are your guys' stances on the anointment system, and do you guys think players should be able to change their anointments or like re-roll their anointments or swap their anointments on their weapons through means of in-game resources or anything.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so there's a caveat to this. Having worked with Gearbox and 2K over the last year and a half, however long, I've grown to understand even more so than I did before. Having streamed for so long, I sort of already had a little bit of an understanding of this, but especially getting to work with Gearbox. Um, things are always a lot more complicated. Things that seem simple are always way more technically complicated to actually make happen than we could ever begin to imagine. Like for me, the only real coding that I know is copying and pasting what Drashna writes for this, that so that I can play video games. Like that's the depth of my coding knowledge. But I've been fortunate enough to get in calls with the Gearbox devs, and like when we suggest something, sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, that's a great idea. Okay, we're gonna write it down," and sometimes it ends up in the game. And other times they've been kind enough to be like, "Well, this is a great idea, but like, here's why we can't do this." And they'll explain the technical things that it would take to make it happen. And I'm like, my mind is just like oozing out of my ears. Like, how does this game even function? I don't even understand. It's incredible. So when I say I want something, or like, it would be really cool if this was a thing, it would be really cool if it's possible. You know what I mean? I don't want them to like, they have to prioritize. And some things are just not possible. So I don't know how possible or complicated it would be, but definitely re-rolling anointments, if it's possible, would be awesome. I do think, we need more resource sinks in the game. Money sinks and iridium sinks, especially we definitely have some iridium sinks, but I don't ever find myself, like, chasing iridium or needing to go get more iridium still, and so a sync for that to allow rerolling would be really cool. So, like, I don't know if it's possible, I don't know how complicated it would be, but if it was possible, yes, absolutely.
So I think
And
I think I- you have two choices. I think at this stage, you can go one way and say you just get rid of anointments, because the problem with anointments isn't the anointments. The problem with anointments is that it's the third layer of RNG. So you have the percentage drop rate, then you have the parts which are mag size, damage size, that kind of thing that define those, and then you have the anointments on top of that. So you have three layers of RNG, and if you're not actually playing on Mayhem 10 or 11, you're not guaranteed to have actual anointment. So you've got all these layers of RNG. Now, I don't think that the drop rates themselves are in a bad shape in terms of the percentages of the items that drop. But if it was for me, if I was making the decision, I would probably just cut the anointments out of the game. Most of the anointments that are actually used in the game, people use them for actual damage. Nobody uses the percentage heal or accuracy and handling. Very, very few and far between. So if we're just adding damage through anointments, I would take them completely out of the game and reset the mayhem scaling accordingly. And I think that would go a long way, because re-rolling anointments is a massive infrastructure change for the game. And we are about 14, 15 months into the game, into year 2. There's no doubt that they're probably thinking about Borderlands 3 and how much time investment, Borderlands 4, how much time investment would they want to commit to adding a massive infrastructure change to Borderlands 3? Like, if I asked you now, would you rather them do re-rolls or concentrate and bring Borderlands 4 sooner? I think most people would probably jump on the Borderlands 4 kind of bandwagon. For me, I would just purge the system and reset the mayhem slightly down, so that it makes it simpler to farm and a bit more easier, kind of, because particularly with the amount of Mo's anointments that have appeared, and like we had one for each set of weapons that she has on Iron Bear. Like, it didn't necessarily make much sense to me. Have that much. You could have action skill end 100% damage and maybe have 3 or 4 like that. But if we are just adding damage, which is what most people use, just cut them off and reset the mayhem scaling.
Mhm.
Would be
Okay,
my
guys, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. If there's anything you want to add, do a shout out or something, say hi to someone, then please go ahead. No, Tess.
Or just link your own stuff if people know where to find you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think the only thing I want to really say is just thank you for having us. This is a cool opportunity to talk to the community. Thank you for having this Discord and like maintaining it and running it. I'm sure that takes a lot of work. And
Sometimes.
so yeah, I can only imagine. And so like thank you for doing that. Thank you for having a place for all the Borderlands crew to kind of hang out and talk to each other and share builds. And because I think a lot of the really like incredible builds that have come out of the community and like, triples builds, or like builds that end up on Ultimate Vault Hunter in general.
Mhm.
I think those exist a lot because of, or largely because of the community in this Discord. So thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
and I mean, you guys can find me on the Borderlands channel or on my channel. It's just Tessa CHKA. I'm there kind of randomly. Saturday's the only guaranteed day on my channel, but I'm on the Borderlands channel a lot.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I agree
Go
with
ahead.
Tess. And what I would say is that like there is a large proportion of the Twitch directory and the Borderlands community that maybe don't get as much recognition because they might not be partnered streamers, but they are in everybody's chat. Like if you're not on Twitch right now, and I'm not saying this to come into my stream, but if you don't use Twitch, like you really should. You really should, because there are a ton of people that just chew the fat in people's streams, and it's the same people in everybody's streams, and they
It
will
is,
answer your
yeah.
questions. Yeah, they will answer your questions. They will support you. They will give you resources. Like the one thing that makes me ridiculously proud when it comes to the Borderlands community is that you will have a new player come in and ask a question, and they're not alienated like it is on Reddit. Their questions are answered, and moreover than that, they're like, and here's a resource for you, and you can find this here and this here. Like so, like if you're not on Twitch, then you absolutely should leave, particularly if you love Borderlands 3.
Yeah, I will echo that. Just to add to what I said before, like this Discord is amazing, and I know a lot of questions get answered here. I always point, like if I don't know the answer to something, or somebody in my chat, whether it be on my channel or Borderlands channel, doesn't know something, I point people to the official Discord. But definitely like other streamers chats, like this whole community is so positive and so helpful to each other. Streamers and builders will talk to each other and be like, "Oh, maybe you can try this for your build, like it could improve it." And then they'll try and be like, "Oh my God, yeah, this is so much better." And that's how like the collaboration that exists on Twitch is amazing. And so definitely the directory is a good place to be, just to hang out and enjoy the game together. And yeah, I agree with that. Super agree.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for today. We're gonna upload the whole interview soon on YouTube for everyone who missed that. And we already got a guest for next episode, which will be on this January 2nd. So I'm very excited to announce who will be, but that's next week. So thank you all who come here to watch us live, be here with us. Thank you, Tess and Triple. It was lovely to have you here, and have a great weekend. So bye. Thank you guys. Thank you.
See you around, guys.